Welcome to Modern Investing Podcast, where we are talking all things investing. And I'm your host, Josh Giordani. All the links will be for our social in the description, and hope you consider subscribing if you enjoyed this. Today, I have Ivan Cazarez. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did. I love it, man.
Cool. Southern California native, born and raised in Escondido, and runs a team here in Escondido, but also covers Inland Empire. In 2021, they did 122 sites, which is awesome.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate the intro and excited to get into this, man.
Cool, man. What inspired you to get into real estate?
Real estate. So I got into real estate. So it's so funny that you said that because I got into real estate when I was in high school. So my dad and I went to like a Rich Dad Poor Dad seminar.
No way.
Yeah, we went to a Rich Dad Poor Dad seminar, and right away, like my dad's like, all right, I'm going to be the investor. You're going to be the real estate agent. We're going to crush it. And we're like, let's do it. Right. And so it's one of those things where you go to these seminars and they're like, hoorah, like you're going to make money. It's easy. And it's like, you're a kid and you're soaking it up, which is amazing. Right. It really opened up my eyes to be like, wow, like real estate investing, you know? And so we went and did that, graduated high school, did other ventures, other businesses, and then kind of came back to the idea of like, you know what? I thought I wanted to be a real estate agent in high school. Maybe I want to be a real estate agent. So I reached out to a friend who was a mentor at that time and like, hey, I want to do real estate. What do you think? And he's like, dude, I think you'd be good at it. Whether or not he was right or like he really meant it, that's all I needed.
Right.
I just needed someone to believe in me. And so got my license. And then from there, got into the real estate space, right? So I was working with my broker at that time, and I've always been like self-motivated. And at that time, I was doing another business venture, but I was like, hey, like I used to do like printing and graphics, right?
Oh, cool.
So yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you name it, I would print it, right? So I would like do T-shirts, screen printing, banners, like you name it, I would print it.
Dude, that's kind of like the younger, like what I wanted to do when I was younger
No
too,
way.
like coming out of high school. It's just funny that you say that because I feel like that our generation is very much like creating T-shirts or brands or like that kind of stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, well, I think when you're younger, you're like everyone's goal is like I want to have my own clothing line.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Like if you're into like racing, if you're into skateboarding, dirt bike riding, you're like, you're like, oh, I'd love to have my own skateboarding line. And so that's kind of how I got into it because I was like into motocross and like the action sports, and I was like, it'd be rad to have my own clothing line. So I did it, and it was fun, and it was great, but it was one of those things where it's like I could make $10 on a T-shirt, or I can make 10 grand on a sell of a home. So it was a very easy transition. And at the same time, I was like, I had just met my wife, and I was like, dang, how am I gonna like afford the married life? You know.
And you got licensed in 2012.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
how old were you?
Yeah, I was at 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was just before you.
Okay.
I think I got my license in 2011, 2010.
Okay.
So yeah just before you, because I'm 34. So I think I was like 22, 23 at the time.
That's crazy, man. And so, yeah, it's pretty wild because getting into real estate, it's one of those things you don't know anything. You just think like you see these shows and you're like, oh, I'm gonna drive a Range Rover and make bank. It's gonna be amazing, you know. And it's like there's a struggle. There's that period where you're having to figure things out, get your business going, and so.
And during that time period, we were coming out of a recession too. So it was kind of a different way of like getting business back then. Craigslist ads worked, that was right when like Zillow was really like getting pushed out hard. Yeah. So it was an interesting time.
That's funny that you mentioned that because I remember doing that, like putting my business card and I'd get calls and like, now it's like saturated. Like no way, that's not gonna work.
Dude, I closed 2 deals from Craigslist.
No way.
I swear. What? So back, because when I got started in real estate, it was with my dad, and he was in Palm Desert at the time.
Okay.
And so I was putting in ads for his REOs that he was getting. Yeah. And dude, I would get calls from Craigslist.
No way.
And there was times where I double-ended 2 of his listings from a Craigslist ad, and I was like, I can't believe that this stuff actually works.
People would actually look on Craigslist to buy a house.
To buy a house. Like nowadays, like I don't even think I go on Craigslist. Like it's like Facebook Marketplace maybe.
Dude, Facebook Marketplace is where it's at now, man. It's like the new Craigslist. That's funny that you mentioned that.
It's interesting.
I'm addicted to Facebook Marketplace.
All right, I look every day. Yeah, different
for things that I don't need.
Yeah,
right?
me too. So talk to me about what your real estate investing portfolio. I know the last couple of years you've been doing some flips here and there, and then I know you had your Airbnb and your rental portfolio stuff.
Yeah, dude. So what I did when I got into real estate, when I first got into real estate, we were doing a lot of flips. And when I say I was working with an investor, right? And these investors that I would be working with, this was the time where we would find properties, still for low 200,000, and we were selling them for 400,000, and it was just crazy. It was a different market, right? And the margins were a lot different. And I remember helping them, and I'm like, man, I'm making these guys a lot of money, and I'm making a commission, which is great. Like you'll have to start somewhere, right? And I was fine with that, but it was one of those things where as we did that, and it was growing, and that was a little side of my business. I was just looking more for the resale, right? I was in the business of resale. And so like you said, like last year we did 122 units. That's my main bread and butter.
Sure.
And as I've been evolving, as I've been growing, I'm like, man, I've been adding a rental a year. That's kind of my goal. It's like adding a rental a year.
That's a good goal.
And I started with property management. So before I got into sales, I got my real estate license. I did property management for like,
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I did property management for like 2-3 years. And that was great because it really taught me how to like do the leases, how to work the back end stuff, how to work with tenants, the pre-screening, so it was all that stuff that I realized like I don't want to be a property manager, but this is great. It's a great business. It's very profitable. And so as I got in transition to real estate sales, last year was the first year that I did my own flip on my own, right? I've always done it with partners and investors. It was like the first time I had done my own. And it was also, last year was the first year that I bought our first Airbnb, because I've been in the space of residential rentals.
Right.
So I own right now 8 doors. And then I was like, all right, let's try this Airbnb thing.
Right.
And the Airbnb thing is legit. Like I love it. So we bought an Airbnb in Big Bear, right? And it's really cool because I think what I've learned is like every business, there's like a learning curve, right? Like
For sure.
you're having to figure things out. Like give me a rental, I know how to do
steps.
it. I got it. It's pretty easy. We pre-screen a background check, credit check, like make sure they're legit, get a good gut feeling. Everything else checks off. Like, let's rent it to them.
Right.
Airbnb, it's like, how do we even do this? It's just a different.
It's foreign.
Yeah, it's foreign.
Yeah.
But what's really cool, what I can teach you about Airbnb, or at least the listeners, right? The Airbnb is find out what your niche is, right? So is it Big Bear? Is it San Diego? Is it Palm Springs, right? Like, Palm Springs, I don't. Is it Palm Springs?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Palm Desert, yeah.
Palm Desert, right?
Yeah,
so like you would know like what the areas are at and like where to get one because you grew up there or you've been there, right?
Sure.
With Big Bear, I just knew that I love snowboarding, and I'm like, I'd want to have an Airbnb where I like to vacation.
Right.
And so we got an A-frame there, which A-frames are very highly sought after. Right. It's a very trendy, hipster
The place
thing.
looks sick, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Right. Yeah. And it's like, we just thought it was cool. Like I was like, oh, I want an A-frame, not knowing that it was very sought after.
Right.
So Airbnb has its own little like tab for A-frames. So if you click A-frames, it'll show you all the A-frames.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I didn't even realize that. We just got excited. I thought it was cool, but people actually seek to stay at A-frames, which is pretty interesting.
So was your plan when you went into that, did you like comp it out, like what other A-frames were selling for? Or were you like, this is where I want to vacation, and if we can put it on Airbnb, if we can make some money from it, like let's do it?
So I knew I wanted an A-frame.
Right.
And I knew I wanted to Airbnb it, right? Not really doing any of the comps. It was more of just like, I want an A-frame.
Right.
Like aesthetically, it just looks cool. And I was like, I want an A-frame. And then I had, on Pinterest, I had seen a black A-frame, and I was like, and I actually had like printed it out, put it on my vision board, and I was like, I'm gonna get a black A-frame, Right. And so I've been, and that market in 2020 was a lot crazier, right? Like things were flying off, like 100,000 over asking, and I was like, I'm not paying 100,000 over asking. Like this is insane, right? Like I'm an investor, like trying to get a deal, I'm not trying to like overpay.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, like A-frame comes on the market, it falls out in like October, and I'm like, what? Like this thing's on the market for like an hour? How is it still on? So I call the agent, and I'm like, look, man, I want this. Like you write it up. Like I want to offer this. It's like, no. I'm like, come on, You're like, you're going to represent me. Just write the deal and give me a deal, And I did. He was able to give me a somewhat of a discount. And if you're a licensed real estate agent, you're able to get a referral fee out of it. So it was cool. Paid for a little bit of my closing costs. And so we got the A-frame, went up there, and we just started renovating it. And what was really cool, because of the shortage of COVID, like there was a shortage of material, there was a shortage of furniture, like
everything.
Everything. I couldn't even order wood. I couldn't order faucets. So we had to piece a lot of the stuff. Like we were looking on like Facebook Marketplace for a couch. We were looking on Craigslist. We were looking on like Wayfair. Like we were trying to piece this A-frame together because we're like,
we want to get this up and
we
running.
want it now. We
Right.
don't want to wait 6 months for a couch.
Yep.
And so we put that all in together, and it was pretty cool. So I would say that the number one thing I would share with you is if you're gonna do investing on Airbnb space, make sure if you're not gonna run it yourself,
Right.
get yourself a super host.
Right.
Okay. And so what a super host is, not sure if you know what a super host is, but what's really cool about what the super host is, it's that someone that has already been vetted out, who's got the reviews and the experience. And if they got good reviews and they got a good experience, they become a super host. And so what happens is Airbnb will push their listings, the algorithm, they'll push the listings to the top, right?
So it's not based on like property specific. It's just based on being that host.
Yeah.
So it's almost like being a super property manager in a sense, but for Airbnb.
Yeah.
That's legit.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like Yelp. Like it'll always push the top reviews.
The people who pay for it.
Yeah, people are paying for it too.
Right.
But it's also who's got the most reviews, they're going to get pushed to the top.
Right.
And so Superhost, they've got the good reviews, they got the good experience. So Airbnb will push their listings to the top.
That's awesome.
So when I first started, I got connected with the property manager that wasn't a Superhost. So our like things weren't getting pushed. We weren't getting booked,
Right.
and we're getting bad reviews. And like the property manager was like, "Oh yeah, it's just these crazy LA people." And you're like, "No, like we
Something's
don't want to
wrong
have
here.
bad reviews. Like
Right.
we want to have a good experience." And it was just a bad property manager.
Gotcha. How long did you until you fixed that?
So we did that. That lasted about 2-3 months.
Okay.
That was like the learning curve of
Right.
like, all right, we should probably done a better job, done a little bit more research. And so I share this because if I could save somebody that headache,
totally.
that's huge.
Right.
And so what's cool about a super host is you become a co-host.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is that if for one day, things don't work out with that property manager, you still get to keep your profile, right? So all the reviews that you built up,
you still get to keep that.
you get to keep that page.
That's awesome.
Where if you're not a host on
Mm-hmm.
your page, and the things don't work out, now you want to take ownership. Now you have to start your
start
profile
over
over
again.
again.
Yeah. Oh, that
with
sucks.
0 reviews, 0, like people have to stay there. And so people will go off reviews. Like, what are people saying? How,
Right.
what do they enjoy about your place?
That's cool.
Yeah.
What financing did you guys get? Did you go conventional or did you pay cash?
Yeah. So on that place, we paid, we did conventional 20% down.
What was the purchase price?
The purchase price, we paid $429 for it.
Okay.
And, I think all in, we're in at like 2,300.
Okay.
$2,300 a month, which is crazy.
In 2021, rates were amazing.
Yeah, the rates were still low. I think we had it like 4%. And it's been great because those Airbnbs, man, it's like what's cool about the Airbnb space is every market's different. But what I learned about Big Bear is that you make 60% of your money during the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, like we're booked out till February. I think even February is like halfway booked, and it's like, I'm talking booked out.
Right.
And it's crazy because you can get a premium for like holidays. So for Christmas, we're getting $800 a night,
crazy.
New Year's, $800 a night. Like, so we're getting a premium.
Right.
And if there's snow, as soon as snow hits up in Big Bear, like
You're
we're
filled
booked.
up instantly.
Yeah. I got friends who are like, hey, I think I want to book it in January. I'm like, dude, like we're booked.
Sorry, bud.
I can't even stay at our own Airbnb,
That's
which
crazy.
is pretty great. Cause like last year we stayed there for Christmas, had our first white Christmas and it was great. But this year we're able to stay at it because somebody booked it before us.
Right.
I just forgot to block it off.
That's nuts. Do you mind sharing like what you guys cash flowed?
Yeah, not at all. So what's really cool about the Airbnb, we'll probably make anywhere from like 85 to 90, 95,000
After
this year.
expenses?
No. That's
Okay.
all.
Gotcha.
Right.
Cool.
And then, so that's what we'll make. We haven't,
So 24,000 is basically your mortgage per year.
Yeah.
Right. And then
Yep.
expenses, maybe another 10 to 15.
10 to 15 for house cleaner. House cleaner is the one that she makes pretty good money because she's
that's
out
crazy.
there, man. She's cleaning it every 3 days, every weekend. Like, so she's making some good money, And
Imagine having like 15 or 20 of those things for her.
Dude, she makes good money. And so the crazy part about that is I tell people, I'm like, I make no profit off the cleaning
Right.
fee, So there's some property managers or Airbnb people that will like charge $100 and they'll charge them 150, so they'll make a $50 profit.
Gotcha.
I just want to keep her happy and keep her clean and get this place clean.
Well, that's awesome.
We have ours is dog friendly, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's very sought after as well. But she's great. She goes in there and she's like vacuuming. Like we go there and like we have no hair there, so it's pretty cool.
Can you guys do a rapid depreciation on an Airbnb like you can with traditional rentals? Do you guys do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
So you definitely can. I haven't done it yet. Funny that you mentioned that. My tax accountant said, "Okay, we got to do it this year."
Right.
So that's one thing
Great though.
Yeah.
So it's basically tax-free money, all your gains.
Well, and what's really cool about the Airbnb space is like once you figure out your system, it's like now it's like how do we get more, right?
Right.
And so now that's where I've been looking at like I need to get two, three other more because
And you're hunting right now, right?
yeah, we're literally hunting right
right.
now for another one, you know. And I've placed offers, I've just gotten beat out,
Right.
you know. And I'm like, all right, you know. And it's funny because we're in a recession. The market's still hot out there. Like
I heard.
I'm still competing against 3 to 6 other offers. And I'm like, this is wild. Like, where's all these people having this money from? You know?
But dude, that's great. Once you have that system in place, I feel like you can just continuing to copy the same process that you had before over and over and over again. And then consistent, like, dude, if you can bring an extra, 40, 60, right? Then all of a sudden you're basically covering your entire expenses per year just with your Airbnbs.
And what I love about that is there is a system, right? And I think that I want to share that with like the listeners because some people think like, oh, I'm going to get an Airbnb and make bank. Like it's not that simple in the sense that like it's got to look good,
right?
Like my wife's got a good eye for design, and so she went in there, made it kind of trendy and modern. It looks cool. Like people want to stay at a place that's Instagram worthy, right? Like they can take a cute little selfie with their friends and they can post it online. Like we had this backup. What do they call this? Like this neon sign. It says it was all a dream. So people take pictures there, and it's like this little photo op. Like there's little photo ops within the Airbnb space in our space that people can take a cool little cute picture and they can upload it to their Instagram.
That's big in Palm Springs and like Arizona and Nashville. They do like those walls, the theme walls and all that different stuff to where people take selfies and like tag their specific like Airbnb listing on Instagram and like pushes it out. And then people like want to go to those places because they see how cool it looks.
Yeah. It's funny, like we live in a world where people just want a cute Instagram picture. You know what I mean? Like that's.
I don't know about you and I, but maybe our significant others.
Our significant others like, babe, take a picture. You know, like, all right, let's take the picture.
Is this a good angle?
Yeah. So I would say that the biggest thing if anyone's looking to invest in an Airbnb space is make sure you get a super host. Make sure you spend some time or hire somebody to design your space inside if you're not talented. With putting the furniture together, the theme, and then also find out like what people are looking after, or for example, like Palm Springs, it's got to be modern, right? Mid-century modern. If you're not going to get a brand new house out there, it's probably not. People are not.
Some of them. It just depends on the area because there's so many different. Like Palm Springs is kind of that different animal because you get snowbirds, people from Washington and Canada, and all that stuff that goes out there.
I would think looking outside in like. If I'm going out there, I'd want to stay at a sick mid-century modern home. I wouldn't want to stay at a regular track home. Like I could stay there here
anytime. Right. Yeah.
Right. And so I think out there, it's the A-frames, the Cambrel roofs are big. The hot tubs is a must if you're going to go.
Oh, you have to have a pool there, right? In Palm Springs, but for you guys, like having a hot tub. I remember when we were going out to Big Bear, it was like after snowboarding, I want to go sit in a hot tub and have a few drinks. Yeah.
Our property manager, he's like. So we pay him 20%, and he says by having a hot tub, and he's got all the stats. He's like, we'll easily make you an extra $30,000 a year from having a hot tub.
That's crazy.
It's insane. It's like a $5,000 investment.
Right.
I'll pay for a hot tub all day long.
Dude, that's
Make
why
an
not?
extra $25,000 a year. You know what I mean?
Totally.
$30,000. So, yeah, I like the Airbnb space. It's a fun thing, and. I definitely want to invest more into like the Airbnb space. I'd love to have one in San Diego, few in San Diego, more. You know what I mean? Like just not stop, but like I really like Big Bear. Big Bear's cool. It's a fun destination, and it's
not too expensive either.
No, like you buy a property for $400,000, $500,000. Like that's relatively low of what you're going to be spending. In San Diego, are going to be spending $1 million, and $800 to $1 million to get something.
San Diego, I feel like you have to kind of have like one of those like coastal properties.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a limiting belief on me, like thinking that you have to have something coastal or like on the beach. But like if I was to live out of area and come to San Diego, I'd want to be near the water.
A pool.
Right.
You have to have a pool.
Or a pool. Yeah.
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 I was talking to somebody else who invests and has Airbnbs out here, and he says like as long as you have a pool, you're going to be okay.
Right.
I'm like, that's crazy because even like Vista, like they're sought after. I'm like, what? Like who wants to stay in Vista? But there's Legoland.
I looked up Airbnb stuff and because the property that I have in escrow right now in Carlsbad, in my head, I was looking at multiple exit strategies and I was like calling a vacation rental guy and I was like, how much can I rent this place out for? And it's just under a $2 million price point. So I was like, am I going to be able to break even on this? Am I going to be able to cash flow?
Yeah.
Dude, surprisingly, even with pure ocean views and all of that, like it would make $130,000 a year, which I wouldn't even cover like the entire mortgage, which I was surprised.
Yeah.
So a lot of these people, like I feel like they bought these homes, or they were primary residences, and then they bought second homes and then decided to like rent them out versus like just going out and looking for an Airbnb. Because I think it's tough. It would be a little tougher, I think, to cash flow here.
Oh, 100%. You know, and I don't know the numbers out here. I haven't done the research, but yeah, it's. I mean, yeah, 100%. If you have a $2 million property, you got to be making
totally. And this was the numbers on this specific deal, so I'm sure it could vary on other stuff. But,
you got to find that sweet spot, right? And it's also bedrooms, right? So it's like if you can get that same amount, 130, and you're spending 800,000,
right?
It's like, okay, let's go.
No-brainer.
It's a no-brainer, right? It's like, let's go get the house that's 800,000,
right?
That has 5 bedrooms and it has the pool.
Yep. Then it makes more sense.
And it makes more sense.
And I think the travel nursing stuff and like all those types of avenues too, like you wouldn't expect people to come in like, you know, Airbnb, like a normal residential house. But I think it happens more often than I think it does.
You know, and it's funny that you mentioned that. I think a lot of it too is just like my friend just got her first Airbnb in Fallbrook. And she's like, I'm going to do a Airbnb in Fallbrook. I'm like, Fallbrook, like what? Random. Like that's random. Why? Like, and I was like, not trying to be a Debbie Downer with my friend. I'm like, hey, I don't know if it's gonna rent out. Just saying, like maybe do some research. You know, like obviously I care for this friend, so I'm looking out for her.
Right.
And she's booked. She's booked like 3-4 months. And I'm like, what? And it's like a studio, but because there's a lot of weddings in Fallbrook. There's a lot of weddings. So where are people gonna stay when they go to Fallbrook? You know,
right? I think maybe it's just a limiting belief.
There's no hotels,
right?
You know, so now they're going to want to stay at an Airbnb. This thing is super cute, modern, and trendy. They're going to stay there, and she is booked and making stupid money. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, for you and I, it's like we go to travel. We're going to travel outside, right? Like Big Bear. I go to Mexico a lot. You go to Mexico a lot. So you're looking in those places like that you would go and travel to, and not thinking, okay, like a normal house in Fallbrook can rent and maybe cash flow. Like, would you expect that? I wouldn't. But that's great. Like, those stories like that are inspiring.
So it's interesting finding out like what every city has to offer, right? Fallbrook is weddings,
right?
You know, weddings. You got the wineries up in Temecula, so it's like people need a place to stay.
Totally.
You know, and so that's like, and that's pretty cool because I was talking to her and I was looking also on Airbnb and I'm like, there's not a whole lot of Airbnb, so that might be like an untapped market. That's a freebie for somebody out there. You know,
go pick up some places in Fallbrook.
Hit me up. I'll help you buy it.
There you go. So let's talk about your flip. Last year, flips, but last year you did your first one solo.
Yeah.
Right? I want to hear about those experiences because I know what I've like gone through with mine. I think we've done like 16 in the last 2.5 years. So it's like hearing your story and just jumping right into it without like, because I know you partnered with other people before and you found some deals.
Yeah.
But I still feel like even now, like it's nerve-wracking to do your own and fund it.
Oh,
and I think your story is interesting too because of your financing. So we'll touch on that too.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things so the first one that I got last year it was actually a client of mine. We put it on the market. It was just a fixer, you know, no doubt about it. And it kept falling out of escrow because it was just unexperienced buyers that were like, I want to buy it. Yeah. And they were going over asking and they get it into escrow and then it'd be like, oh, like we want to get less. And so it fell out of like twice, 2 or 3 times. And then finally I went over, I had mentioned it previously. I'm like, hey, I'd love to buy this. He said, no, I want to put it on the market. Respect it. Let's do it. Let's put it on the market. And so finally, I think by the second or third attempt, I said, hey, like I'm willing to buy it as is, you know, no commissions if we can make this happen. And so he agreed, you know, and we are able to get it under contract. What did we get it for? Oh man, I forget the numbers. I think I bought it for like $460.
Okay. What area? Because it was in San Diego.
This was in Paradise Hills.
Paradise. Cool.
Yeah, so I think we ended up buying it for $460, and nice house, you know. And so we ended up getting it, clean house. I mean, it was cosmetically needed a lot of work, and so I ended up buying that with 20% down conventional financing. Right. You know, I knew there's hard money lenders and all that space, and I was like, you know what? I know conventional financing. Let's buy it. Right. And so we ended up buying that property, and it was really cute, like hacienda style, like Spanish. And so, you know, on this one, my wife was supposed to help me because she's got more of the interior design eye. You know, she's just better, right, with picking out pieces. Wow. And we just had our second child at that time, And she wasn't able. She was like, dude, I'm in the middle of it. Like
Yeah.
I cannot go
You're
pick
stuck.
out
It's all on
anything.
you.
So it was all on me. And
Yeah.
it actually turned out pretty good. I had like, toot my own horn, dude. But it was a lot. You know what it was? It was Pinterest. It was like literally
Looking
like
at-
finding like homes that were like similar. I'm like, oh, that's cute. Like that's modern. That's nice. Like let's do that. And
Did you have to go through different contractors, or did you meet with one contractor, got one quote?
Yeah. So the way I did this one is I know construction to some sense, right? And I was like trying to be like the contractor. I'm like, I'm gonna sub it all out. So I was kind of like I got the window guy, I got the flooring guy, I got the painter, I got like the landscaper, and it was great. I think it's good if you can do that. I probably wouldn't recommend it. I probably would just go.
You have a full-time job.
Yeah, I have
and
a full-time job.
And that would take over your life. for
Oh,
sure.
and I did it that
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah.
And it was just awful. It was like in Paradise Hills. It's like a 45-minute drive there, 45-minute
Going
drive
there multiple times a
back.
week.
Like it was just like, dude, it was awful, right? And it was great because it was a great profit, but at the same time, it was just like, dude, it was just if you have the time and the resources to do that, do it.
Right.
If not, hire a contractor. Even if I'm gonna, pay an extra $20,000, it's worth like just the headache.
Right.
And I'm over here doing all that to save like $20,000 or whatever the number was.
Right.
Right. And so, yeah, I think it's good. I think it's also good to do it that way because you learn like
You experience what the process.
Experience what the process is like how much does a windows cost? How much is flooring really going to cost me? How much is painting really going to cost me? Right. So I think it was a good experience to do it. And I've been out of the game for a minute, so I did it that way. And then so we ended up doing that house. We ended up knocking out some walls and doing it all, and it turned out really good. We ended up selling it. I think we ended up selling it for like $675 or something. So I forget the exact number.
And what did you guys put into it?
I think on that one we put like 50 or 60 into it.
Oh, it's not bad.
Yeah, it was great. It was a
Made
good
like
one.
75-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Look at that. Yeah. So that was a good one. It was great to be like, okay, like let's do more of these.
Right.
Right. Like we can do more of these. And I think the biggest thing about flipping, or at least in my experience, I feel like flipping in a sense is easy, right? Like picking out the finishes and all that stuff is easy. Like if you don't know how to do it, you can have somebody. I think the hardest part is finding the deal that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, because I have a bunch of people are like, I want to flip. And you're like, dude, like me too. Like, let's flip. But I'm like, we got to find houses that actually make you money.
Totally.
Right?
I think the biggest thing, it's funny too, because now I get approached all the time with
Yeah.
people who are like, how do I get involved? How do I invest with you? Or how do I
Yeah.
give you money or stuff like that? And I'm like, it's not the money. Like, it's not the financing that I need. Like you find a deal, the money comes regardless of where it is. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, being a deal finder, I think is the number one thing for anyone. Like if they're getting started in real estate investing, like with flips or rentals, like finding the deals is the most important thing. If you can get good at doing that and like running numbers, like you will automatically be successful because you'll be able to find an investor who are willing to either partner with you or help you or guide you through, or someone maybe give you, if you have no money, give you an equity partnership, which is how I started originally.
Yeah.
So
no, you're spot on, man. It's funny because I get that asked, like, let's flip house. I'm like, dude, flipping's easy. It's like, we got to find the deals, right? Because it's like, I don't know about you, but it's like, you have to have certain margins, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to want to make. And it's like some people, I remember when I was first working with these investors, they're like, it was a different market, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you were making 30 off a flip, that was great. That was cool. But now it's like that. And now that doesn't make sense.
No.
After you're paying taxes and what ifs,
Right.
You don't know what happens. Like it's risky business.
well, now going into 2023, the market's shifting, right? We're not necessarily in a solid uptrend anymore. So like, penciling out 20 or 30 and maybe making 40, 50, 60, right? That was fine. But like in a downtrend, it's like you have to buy lean and mean, right?
Yeah.
You have to like be a little bit more cautious going into these deals.
Yeah.
Maybe not buying stuff that's on like a main road anymore or like busy streets. You have to be a little bit more cautious going into that. But
Agreed. And the last property that I just bought, we ended up getting it for $510. And originally, when I had approached the guy, it was like $600. And as the market cut down, I was like, look, I'm not trying to lowball you here, but I'm like, the market's going down. Like there's a lot of uncertainty. Like I can buy this for $510.
Right.
And I'm like, no big deal if you don't want to do it. Like we can put it on the market and sell it. And he's like, no, we'll do $510. I'm like, sweet. And it wasn't, I was just like, also I can sleep better at night because,
dude,
like I don't know if I'm going to make what I'm trying to make.
Don't want, I would rather walk away from a deal than buy a deal that I'm not going to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Right. Especially like with the market time now, maybe a little bit longer than normal, construction times and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember you telling me that with we're at Nate's office, I think.
Yeah.
You were telling me, you were like, dude, I think I got to go in for a price reduction. I was like, do it.
Yeah, I remember
like,
you told me.
Do
I was
it.
like, I'm
Like,
gonna ask him for like another $50,000, and you're like,
dude, if
no
if you're not comfortable, just you gotta ask.
I had to.
At the end of the day, they can always say no or meet you in the middle somewhere, and you're like, okay, is that like in my comfort threshold?
Dude, it was one of those things where it's like, hey, I'm not trying. Like, if you don't want to do it, it's okay. You know, I wasn't so tied or married to that deal. I just wanted to sleep all night, and so we ended up getting that for 510. ARV is like $699, $700, right? So right now that's being conservative. I think really maybe 725, 730, but I'm not pushing. Like I know, like, hey, what's it really going to move at?
Right. Yeah. If you're at 725, may as well list it at 699 and see what happens. You know what I mean? As long as you can, because we just listed our house. We have one in Spring Valley. We ended up buying it for 375.
Wow. Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
375. I've never heard, like, you haven't heard of that number.
Dude,
I was in such a long time.
I was in Cabo and I got the call. The first buyer backed out. They were at 400. They were at 400. The second buyer didn't answer their phone. We were the lowest offer. And this was like, I want to say this was in October.
Yeah.
So the lady calls me. I'm literally drinking a margarita in Cabo. And she's like, hey, we'll accept your offer at 375. Will you come in? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, send me over the DocuSign. I'll sign it right now.
Yeah.
We got into escrow that day. We closed like 2 weeks later. We ended up needing a quick credit because they were supposed to clean out the house. They never did. So I think it was like 375 exactly. We were a little bit over that in our offer. And dude, it's like, but those opportunities are out there.
Yeah.
You know, we ended up putting it on the market at, what was it? $599, and I think we're in escrow at $629.
Let's go. So you still got over asking.
Yeah, dude. And we had 15 offers.
No.
But dude, I don't know if it was like right when rates dropped, because it was right around that time, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, we got a little nudge with rates. And so I think, you know, we got that little push up, which was great. But yeah.
And the beautiful part about that is like that entry level pricing is like they're still sought after.
Yeah.
Like they're still gonna move, you know. And I think we talked about that. Like I'd love to do the higher end flips, right? But dude, that's some risky.
You got to have some serious balls.
Yeah, man.
Especially
we were talking
right
about
now.
that guy in La Jolla. Who's, that's insane. Like I like these small ones because it's like I know we can turn and burn.
Yep.
We do a good job. We deliver a nice product, and someone's gonna want to buy it. You know, a starter family that's saying, hey, I don't have the money to fix it up, but I want something that's turnkey.
Right.
Boom, here's a beautiful house for you.
Yeah, and especially for like people starting out, but like my focus is staying under that 800,000 right now. I mean, like I don't really want, the only reason why I'm in escrow on this one is because maybe, and this is one thing that I was going to touch on that you said, maybe I'm a little emotionally connected to it, which is never good with real estate investing. Yeah. But I love this area. It's where like my mom went to school at Carlsbad High, my aunts, my uncles, my grandma lives down the street. This is a street where like anyone who knows like old Carlsbad like would want to live on this street. And so if worst case, like I'd try to keep it if I could, but I also don't want a $14,000 a month mortgage.
Sounds like you might have found your new house, man. Sounds like you're trying to.
I don't know. We'd probably have to sell. I'd probably want to sell my house.
Yeah.
If we did it, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, never be emotionally connected because that can screw you.
100%, right? And that's just it. Well, and that's the beautiful part about. That's what I love about real estate, and like what you said, there's like multiple exit strategies, right? It's like, can we Airbnb it? Can we do a BRRRR? You know, can we do a short term? You know, like what else can we do with this property, right? Like, or even buy and hold for like 3 years.
Yep.
See where the market's going to be. So, you know, that's why I like, and I feel like it's a lot more safe because I know even like the property I just bought in San Diego, I'm like, all right, let's finish it up. Once it's all done, I'm gonna rerun numbers again.
Right.
What does it look like if I were to Airbnb it?
Right.
Can I BRRRR this and just keep it as a rental? Like that would be good too. And then go buy another property.
Right.
Do you follow Thatch on Instagram?
Yes.
Dude,
I don't follow him on Instagram, but I do see his like YouTube shorts like pop up and stuff.
Yeah.
He's an interesting personality, but it's cool to watch.
Dude, he's a character. You should, you know, for people that don't follow him on Instagram. And one thing I like about him, and I'm trying to follow his model right now, is like get to 10 doors. Get to 10 doors, and once you get to 10 doors, then work on paying them all off, right? So then work on your primary, pay that off, then second, third, fourth, and then be like, all right, now let's get 10 more and do the process over again.
Right.
You know, and so that's kind of something that I've been kind of thinking about. Like, all right, I like that model of just like paying them off, you know? So we're at 8 doors, get 2 more, and then let's go to paying them off.
See, it sounds, I have a hard time with the whole paying it off thing because I love the fact, I feel like you're the guy that likes to pay cash for a lot of things, like your Porsche, right? You didn't finance it. But I love leverage because I feel like with my house, I owe less than 50% of my house, but my rate's 2.75.
Oh, 100%.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like if I decided to rent that place out, I'd cash flow probably $1,000 to $1,200 a month. If not even more than that, and someone else can pay off that mortgage, right? And I can move on to the next property. I can always get a home equity line of credit, right? And I can go and leverage that and use hard money and go and buy a deal that may make sense for a flip, right? But I decide to keep it, refinance, still pull all my cash out, put it back into my HELOC and keep repeating that process over again. So it's interesting because the power of leverage and debt, like if you use it the right way,
100%.
It could be huge to like catapulting you into crazy net worths really fast.
Oh, dude, I agree, right? Like there's some interest rates that you're like, I'm never getting rid of this. Like, why?
Why would I ever sell my house at 2.75? And why would I ever refi at this point?
Or even car loans, you know what I mean? I know on my truck, I had like 1.9, you know, and like, it was literally the life of the loan. I was going to pay like $500 in interest. I'm like, never paying this thing off. Like, why? You know, I literally just was like, $3,400 every month. Like, why am I going to pay this off? So you're right. Like there's certain things that you just have to know the power of like, how can I leverage this?
Exactly.
And like, I'd rather have that extra 30, 40,000 in the bank and buy another piece of real estate or invest somewhere else.
Totally. Yeah. It's interesting because HELOCs too, majority of the time, I don't even use my own cash for all of our deals. Like I use my HELOC because the interest is a write-off. And I've been able to leverage the last 2 years to get 0% interest for like 6 months.
Dude, that's crazy. So share a little bit more about that because I've never done a HELOC.
Yeah. So the HELOC that I got, my limit was like 250 or whatever it was, but you know, I'm able to do probably 3 deals with that at a time. And then I keep my cash in the bank so I can pay it off. Like if I lost money, I'd be fine. I can pay it off at any time. But why not use someone else's money, right? I can write off my interest. If the interest does get, I think my interest rate's 5% now.
Still great.
But with my tax person, I can write off the HELOC interest for any real estate or stock purchases.
Wow.
So I can take that leveraged money and go and buy it and maybe make 2 payments, right? On the borrowed money. And then I get it back with no money out of my normal account and continue to use, keep that in there for my daily life. But if I was to ever get in trouble, I can always pay it off, right? Like I don't look at a HELOC like if you don't have that money in the bank, don't mess with a HELOC to go and leverage, especially going into 2023. And
especially if you've never done it, right?
If you've never done it.
That's risky business.
And that's what I was going to touch on too with your financing, going conventional on a flip, which is so interesting because we are our hard money, right? We get 90% of ARV.
Oh, dude.
And
so I contacted that guy.
Well, we use someone different.
Oh, you use someone different?
Yeah, we use someone different. I can get you in touch with them now, but it's 90% of ARV and they'll loan all the construction costs. So we're only coming out of pocket with 10%. So like, let's say for your example, right, your total loan amount would have been $550 or whatever it is. You're only coming out 10% versus what you came out of pocket with. So your ROI would be far greater, even though you're paying a 10% annual rate or 11%. But you got to remember, it's a 90-day turnaround, right? 120-day turnaround. So your 10% is really like your lending costs are going to be minimal.
Yeah. No, I talked to that person, your new person, and it was like they needed you to have 5 under your belt in the last recent 12 months.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so I was like, all right, more motivation to get these flips knocked out so I can leverage that, right? Like you need to have that experience, right? They're not just going to like let you borrow 90% if you've never done a flip. They're going to be like, well, do you really know the game? Do you really know how to do this?
Yeah,
right?
True.
So that's what's really cool about the power of the more you do, the more leverage, credibility you get that you can borrow 90% on that.
I was actually going to ask you, do you feel like because getting a car loan, for example, kind of messes up your credit when you first get it and then it bounces back afterwards. Do you feel like when you have gone conventional and then paid those loans off like really quickly, do you think did it ding your credit at all?
Great question.
I've always wondered that.
I don't think so. I don't know. My credit's pretty good. It's interesting enough. My wife's credit's better and I'm always the one taking on the more debt, but no, my credit's decent. You know what I mean? Like it's not at 800 yet. We're getting close to that, but No, I don't think it's ever dinged it. I think it dings it when you obviously get a hard pull from
right in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering because it's like early payoffs. I don't know. Like that's why I was curious.
Yeah.
You should look next time when you close on this new one.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see if that messes you because there's no like early or prepayment penalties normally with mortgages.
No.
But because you've paid it off so quick, like does it help you or does it hurt you?
Because of your history.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, good question. I have no idea. I have to look.
I didn't know either. That's why I was curious. I always wanted to ask you that.
Yeah.
So
no, that's
saved
good.
it for this.
No, I've been waiting for to get those 5 so I can start leveraging that lender. You know.
There you go. Yeah.
Good. So.
Awesome, man. Well, what's your prediction for 2023 in the real estate market?
So it's interesting, right? I think what we're noticing is we still have a shortage of inventory, right? We still have like 2 months worth of inventory here in San Diego market and San Diego County. And so I think it's a supply and demand. You know, I think coming into the first quarter, I think we're going to see rates kind of go down a little bit. I think they're still going to be in the 5s. This is just kind of talking to some of the smarter people that I know, you know, talking to different lenders, different people that study the economy, economists, and you know, just kind of looking also inside the real estate market. I predict that we're going to have rates will kind of drop down a little bit, but I don't think that we're going to see a much reduction in price anymore. I feel like it's just, you know, I think consumers are going to be like, why are prices not going down anymore? Supply and demand. There's still not enough houses.
Right.
And you touched on something that was very good was people have interest rates that are locked under 3%, you know, 2.75, 3%. They're like, I am not selling this house. I talked to some clients who are like, I hate my house. I don't even really like it. I just bought it because I wanted to buy something, you know, sure. It does its purpose, right? Shelter or whatever, but I don't want to like sell this house and go buy another house and get a 6-7% interest rate. And so there's a lot of people that are just kind of being like pulling from putting their houses on the market.
Yep.
And I think because of that, I still think prices will just kind of hold steadily. I feel like we've already seen the price reduction here in the San Diego market. Like I think right off the bat, like you can say every house is worth $100,000 less, right? Safe to say.
Sure.
I don't think we're going to see anything coming past that.
Right.
I could be wrong. You know?
I mean, it's all predictions, right?
Predictions,
It's all opinion and just kind of
Yeah.
play it smart. I think the only thing that would really add to like prices dropping like really dramatically would be if unemployment like skyrockets, like job loss stuff. But we have so many jobs in San Diego, like at least in our specific market, that it would be tough to see that. But I know like in other areas like Palm Springs and stuff, like dude, they're getting hit a lot harder than we are. So,
well, in San Diego, it's its own economy, right? Like we have Camp Pendleton, we have Miramar, like, you know, it's just, we have a lot of companies like Apple coming down here. So we have a lot of just jobs here in San Diego and we're landlocked. Like we have the ocean, Cleveland Forest, we got Mexico, like we don't got more land.
I wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Right?
I don't want to go anywhere.
Arizona, Texas, like Florida, Boise, Idaho, Nevada, like,
Right.
you know, from what I've been looking and talking to some other agents that are around those areas, like those prices are going down.
Right.
And they're still going down.
Yeah.
Like, that might be a time where you can kind of wait it out and be like, hey, I'm going to find a good opportunity to buy in Florida.
Totally. And I think our transaction volume is just going to be cut in half compared to what it's been.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to be like for
Already is.
dude, a big time.
Already is.
Yeah.
Already is. I mean, I look at the numbers. We look at them every month. I'm
Same.
like,
I look at my numbers and I'm
Yeah.
like, Jesus, I can't believe like
Yeah.
the dramatic of a drop it was. Obviously right now, like November, December is kind of like that seasonal time,
Yeah.
even into January. Normally I feel like our market picks up like right after Super Bowl.
well,
So I'm curious.
we were spoiled, right? Because the last 2 years was like, there was never a
Nonstop.
Yeah. We're like, what is this? You know? And it's like, I'm telling my agents, like, this is normal. The market in San Diego historically will go down in the winter, you know, pick up back in the spring, kind of tailor in the summer, and then kind of pick up in the fall.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just, but some of the newer agents that got into it 2 years ago, they're like, what's going on? I'm getting a job back at Costco.
Right. Dude, I think the metrics for prospecting, like I'm sure you follow like Tom Ferry and stuff,
Yeah.
and like the amount of contacts that people are going to have, like agents or,
Yeah.
you know, to find more flips or whatever the business is. Like I think the touches are going to have to be so much more, probably double or triple what they've been like from industry standards to at least hit your same goals that you had like the previous year.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Only time will tell.
Yeah, and I think it's good. I love it because I think it really separates the men from the boys, right?
for sure.
Like who wants to do this full time?
Yep.
Who's looking to do this as a career? And then who is just doing this for a quick, easy money? You know, and it's like, dude, get lost, man. Like this is a career. This is what we're gonna be doing for the rest of our lives. You know, so it's like let's hit it hard.
Only the strong will survive.
Yes, right.
Well, cool, man. Well, thanks for thanks for having us here, hosting us.
Yeah,
and
man.
I'm glad
Thanks
you
for
were
coming
our first guest, dude. I feel
Yeah,
like this was great.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
fun.
I love real estate and just, you know, it's such a fun avenue to make money, you know, and that's what I love about it. There's so many ways to make money in real
So
estate.
many different facets for sure.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like, and it's like, there's not the right way there is a right way. Right. I think it's just finding out like, what's your niche. Right. And I think that's what I would encourage the listeners, like find out your niche. Like, you know, yeah, Josh does flips. That's great. But like maybe your niche is Airbnbs, or maybe your niche is ADUs. Maybe your niche is like 2 to 4 units. Maybe your niche is just like buy and hold, you know?
Right.
So it's like, figure out what the niche is and be the master of it.
Totally. 100%. And then just follow the plan. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many people out there that are, they're literally telling you their plan
Yeah.
and how they do it. All you have to do is take those action steps to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And the same thing like with real estate agents. There's so many business plans out there. Like you follow those steps, you will become successful.
Right.
You just have to give it that time.
That's right, dude.
So,
yeah,
cool, brother.
man. All right, bro.
Love
Thanks
it.
Thanks for having me in.
Cool.
And have a good one, dude.